Good evening, everyone. It's your boy Malik Washington back at it again with another episode of the B&B. Hope you all are doing well this fine evening wherever you all reside. I pray that all is well with you all and that you all are getting everything that you need accomplished, that you're succeeding in everything that you do, that you're praying for strength for hard times that you're going through, and that you're persevering through whatever trials may come your way. I know I haven't been podcasting for a while, and that is for very good reason. I mean, we just recently had a relative who passed away in our family as of the week before last. And as a result, it's been quite an emotional and hectic time. This relative was living with me and my family for quite some time. And as a result, we had been taking care of him for a while. But unfortunately, due to some natural yet unknown circumstances, he eventually passed away, unfortunately, after we've done all that we could for him. So I've been going through some, I guess you could say, some compartmentalizing for some time on what had just happened, reflecting on the things that had transpired while being with this relative. We've already went through everything that we've needed to for that entire week. You know, the visitation, the wake, the funeral, the burial, the repast. All of that has now been passed as of last week. Sunday was our final day to where we all finally just gathered together at my grandmother's home, and we all pretty much celebrated in our relative's name. He will be very dear to us. We will never forget him. He will never be forgotten, in spite of all that he was struggling with while he was living. So now it's time to move forward. I had been moving forward since the visitation, but for some it's taking a little longer because they were closer to him than I was. I had my relationship with my relative, and I was content with that, so I have no regrets. Even while he was living here, we had a pretty solid relationship, so I'm pretty content with where I'm at with him. And so I decided that I'm choosing to move forward and rest in peace unto him. So today will be the day that I finally decide to update my channel and basically go on podcasting, talking about world events and things that's going on in today's world, or talking about matters of interest that have come across my table, or what has come across my phone that I found to be pretty interesting to talk about. And so I'm just going to share my thoughts on it today with you guys. So without further ado, let's go on ahead and get started. So the topic for today is concerning, I would like to say, a very controversial topic. For those of you that are white or black and different who are viewing this video or will be viewing this video, I may warn you that this is a controversial topic to talk about. It is in reference to both audiences. And if you cannot handle differences of opinions, controversial topics, issues pertaining to race or anything of that nature, I highly recommend that you get off of this channel right now, pause the video, go live your life, get off of here. And I'm only saying that simply because I know a lot of people tend to get offended when you have these types of conversations. They're very uncomfortable. They are discomforting to hear. And in this situation, it might be a little discomforting and unfortunate to hear, but it is something that has been stated. And quite frankly, it has been addressed by a lot of people who've seen this particular video by this particular individual. And I wanted to give my 2 cents on this thought as well that this individual had in regards to the two races. So if you feel that this is something that you simply cannot handle, or you're not willing to listen to, I highly recommend you turn this video off right now. Otherwise, continue to listen to your leisure And I hope that you take something from this video worth learning from, and maybe putting it into practice of what you will do or what you simply will not do. And you'll try to find a different way to maybe perhaps get around it or do better, right? So with that being said, there was a video not so long ago of a white man by the name of Scott Adams. Now, I don't know very much about the guy, but recently I was looking at another person's podcast who was actually talking about this particular video that was, I believe, was on Twitter. And the guy basically got on there and he was explaining to white people of his own race, of his own ethnicity. He was telling white people to stay away from black people. Now, hearing that from first glance, you're from first ear, you're probably like, what the hell is he trying? What is he saying? Where is he getting at? Right? But to provide context, in the video, he was talking about an article where he was reading that black people statistically have a strong disdain for white people, right? That they speak very ill of white people. They don't want to have anything to do with white people. They have a strong hatred and spout nothing but hate to white people, towards white people. As a result, these particular black Americans don't want to have anything to do with the white race in general. And so looking and hearing that, it disappointed him. And it took him aback to the point to where he felt, well, if us as white people are trying to do everything in our power to show black people respect, to acknowledge where we're wrong, to apologize for the things of our ancestors past, to try to mend what has been broken, to give back what has been stolen, which to most black people, we feel like white people haven't given us anything back. Scott felt that maybe perhaps it's now time for black people, from white people, I'm sorry, for white people to stay away from black people. He's disappointed in a lot of what he has seen over the years in his, dealings with black people, as far as what he sees that goes on in our neighborhoods, as far as what he sees on videos, in which you can find plenty of them, of black people attacking white people for the hell of it. It's even been said now, like, Black Lives Matter advocates in high school are trying to force non-black kids to comply to like pledges that BLM has made for black students. All kinds of things that are going on to where white people are being mistreated to a degree of, you could say, servitude to black people in such a way that it's not human. It's not humanely healthy, right? In so many words, they're being treated damn near like they're animals, like they mean little to nothing, which to some black people, these same black people may feel, well, we've been treated like this for over 400 years by some white people. But two wrongs don't make a right. And quite frankly, it's hypocrisy to ask for this one race of people to stop mistreating you, yet you are giving that race of people mistreatment back, and in return, they get nothing for their kindness. Now, I said a long time ago, and I called it, that eventually white people who are nice to black people, who are trying to mend the rights of the past, which they cannot do at the end of the day, but they feel like they can, because black people are constantly making them feel guilty about their privilege and having everything that they have because of their ancestors, making them feel guilty about enslaving their ancestors, enslaving black people when not all white people enslaved black people. And in spite of the fact that some white people were a part of movements that was against the institution of slavery, but nonetheless, we put all white people in the category of being slave masters. We feel that white people owe us everything. And so as a result of that and making them feel constantly bad for everything that they do, white people are doing everything in their power to try to appease us. And we see that within the spectrum of liberalism of non-black people and even mixed black people who try to propagate messages of, racial equality, equity in financial, social, and socioeconomic institutions, things of that nature. You got all these different things going on, yet white people are treated with the utmost vitriol possible from a lot of us, over, I would argue, over 50% of us in the black community, in spite of only making 13 to 14% of the population of the US population. Many of us, truthfully, and we can all attest to it for those of us that are black ourselves, or in part black ourselves, that reside in the black community and have been raised amongst blacks. A lot of us have a strong prejudice and racist thoughts towards the white race, right? As their people, some of them have racist thoughts towards black people. But Scott Adams has seen time and time again, apparently, video after video of white people being mistreated, how black people choose to live in black neighborhoods. One person in particular, or some people in particular, whom he's referenced in his video indirectly. But if you have seen these particular little clips here and there of this individual, and the person I'm going to mention is Don Lemon, because he was one of them, who have often addressed living in the black community, how black people have a tendency, they have some tendencies that are not functional in a neighboring society, in a local in local living. Usually when you live with your neighbors, you make sure you pick up your own trash. You don't play loud music. You don't disturb the peace in the neighborhood. He, recommending you to pull up your pants, because you'll a lot of times you'll see black people sagging their pants or gang banging and stuff like that. And of course, that is not representative of all of us, but that is the overwhelming majority of blacks that live in very low class neighborhoods, right? If you want to put it that way. And living in single and broken homes, as well as having, abandoned buildings everywhere, trash, loitering, all these different things, of which brings down property value and all of that. With that being said, Scott decides to go to, obviously, neighborhoods where there's a less black demographic, and clearly it's a lot better. He does not have to deal with any kind of dysfunction or malfunction that comes from the culture of black people. And it's a lot more peaceful. So with that being said, he feels in his mind, with all the disappointment that came from dealing with basically kowtowing to the black community, he wanted to get away from it. He got tired of it. And so what he was basically saying in his video, I believe, was reactive to everything that he has been seeing and everything that's accumulated from how he's interacted with black people. Quite frankly, he's tired of them. And so what he's saying to the general white population, which obviously not all white people will agree to that statement, to stay away from black people. Because let me put it this way. Another thing I have always premeditated is that, had it not been for some white people having the mindsets that they had to end slavery, to disagree with slavery, to disavow the institution of slavery, black people as a whole, even in 2020, the year 2023, would probably still remain as slaves in the United States. If all white people gathered together and said, we don't give a damn about these humans, these dark-skinned creatures, humans, animals, you name it. We don't give a damn about them. We want them enslaved. We're going to keep them that way. Had it not been from their spirits of kindness, compassion, looking at humans as actual equals and wanting them to get out of that evil institution, we would not be where we're at today. The other aspect, of course, is us doing our ancestors doing their best to either survive or get out of the institutions of slavery by escaping through the Underground Railroad. You know, some of our ancestors were a part of that. Some of you guys had ancestors that were a part of the Great Migration, going from the South to the North, all that jazz, right? So had these spirits of white people not existed, we would not be where we're at today. But considering that all of them do not think the same, it is the very reason why some of us have the ability to engage them, to go to the same schools as them, to go to the same churches and bathrooms, and feast with them. It is the very reason why we're able to interact in their economies and participate in their economies, because some of them don't think like their racist counterparts. Unfortunately, because in my opinion, this unhealthy liberalism has set into the minds of black people. Some black people just have a strong disdain for white people because of what they have been conditioned to believe based off what their people have taught them about white people. Their grandmothers and grandfathers have projected their hatred of white people onto their grandsons and granddaughters. And now their grandsons and granddaughters are coming out here spewing the same rhetoric that their people back at home have been spewing, but except it's in an educational stance. Now some of these people black people are going to school. They're learning a lot more about history. They're learning a lot more about how complex things are. So now, depending on the teacher you get, these people are teaching you a certain mind frame of thinking. And that is to take this history, realize how complex it is, but yet spew this narrow-minded ideal that white people do everything bad and nothing good. And so now you come out of school, you have this amassed hatred for their entire race, which the modern descendants haven't done anything to you, but you've projected their ancestors' wrongdoings onto them. And you say that they've benefited from everything, which, not trying to be funny, but if you were in Africa and Africa was the greatest nation in the world and they were colonizing everybody, guess who would benefit from what their African ancestors have done? The African descendants. By your own very logic, is black people who continue to say the oppressed are not getting what the oppressors have. But if you all were the oppressors, I guarantee you it'd be the same exact way. So if you're going to say that, then the same must be true for the other side. If we're going to say for another thing, we like to say white people are oppressors and they do this and they do that, da 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 da. But if we're the original people, and black people say this all the time, I've been a part of the pro-black community, so I know the talking points. If we are the original people, Hebrews, Europeans, Americans, and all these different things, who were the first people to start lying, stealing, cheating, killing, genocides, all of that, colonizing, subjugation, oppression? I'm just saying. But what I am saying is this. Do I agree with Scott Adams' analysis of how he's viewing this? A lot of people are going to say he's talking about all black people, and perhaps he is. But based off of the context of what I have heard come out of his mouth, he's referring to the ones who are uneducated enough to the point to where they feel in order to get by in this life, you have to hate white people to do it. You have to destroy white people to do it, even if they're kind to you, even if they do right by you, even if they want to be friends with you, even if they understand your pain. And not necessarily understand, but they sympathize. They sympathize with your pain and what your ancestors went through. In spite of all of that, those are the types you don't want to deal with or be around. I'm fairly certain Scott probably is dealing with black people to a certain degree. And it may not be all black people, obviously, but the ones who actually know how to love white people based off actions and not skin color, based off of the fact that, everything is not old to them, based off the fact that they can take individual white people and judge them fairly, as opposed to judging them as a whole and saying you all are the same and therefore you think the same because you're white. Those are the kinds of people he perhaps can deal with or hang around. And the other reality could be true, that he may not want to deal with black people at all because all blacks are trouble to him. That's his prerogative, though I would not agree with that. Not all black people are trouble. Not all black people loiter. Not all black people sack their pants. Not all black people commit crimes, although the overwhelming majority of our black men do commit over 50% of the crimes. If you're talking about percentages, though we are a small demographic, percentage wise, we commit a high crime rate, but nonetheless, those people are not representative of all of us. But at the end of the day, they are still a part of our race. But here's what I will say to black people. You cannot ask the world to treat you with equality and you don't want equality with those people. You cannot ask for respect and treat people with disrespect. You cannot ask to be understood when all you constantly do is give people reasons to misunderstand you. You cannot sit there and bitch, moan, and complain about how everyone is getting above you, yet you yourselves are doing little to nothing to try to get above your circumstances. At every given angle, all I ever hear black people complain about is about how they don't have what white people have. How because of what white people have done to our ancestors, it is the very reason why we can't get the things that we want to today. But I promise you, we have a lot more freedoms in contrast to what our ancestors have. Maybe not as much, but we certainly have a lot more. And what I mean by a lot more is our ancestors may not have had everything as far as inheritances, as far as real estate, in which over time we had begun to obtain our own real estate, our own hospitals, restaurants, things of that nature. But in our beginnings, though we did not have much, as time went on and progressed forward, we did begin to gain more. And on top of all of that, we had each other. We had family. We had values. That's what kept us going. But now those values are devaluing because we are valuing things that have nothing to do with our progression as a race. More so what it has to do with either filling our pockets as individuals, or more so what it has to do with, I would like to say instant gratification. Anything to help fulfill our desires, our lust for things that are vanity at best. And there are a lot of black people that are vain. That could be said for all races, but I know my own race. We're pretty bad with the vanity. We got it horrible. But that's neither here nor there. My point is, ladies and gentlemen, he's one man, right? He's one white man. You can take it or leave it with what he said. But when I listen to Scott Adams, I know exactly what he's saying. You have a lot of people that spew nothing but hatred towards white people all day fucking long. It does not change anything. It doesn't change the race, doesn't change their social conditioning, their living conditioning. It doesn't change anything. All it is just more complaints about how they're more white than you are, how they have more than you have. And what's so funny is about some of these very people that complain about not having the houses that white people have, not having the economics that white people have, not having the capital that white people have. It's so funny how some of these very people are millionaires, damn near billionaires, multi-millionaires at that. And yet they're living in the whitest of places. And yet these are the so-called oppressors. Patrice Cullors, anyone? Some of those anchors on MSNBC and CBS and all these different things, CNN, some of these Democratic politicians, you're amongst white people all the time. You're living in the whitest of neighborhoods, even have private security forces, which I'm sure are consisting of not just black people, probably have white people on those forces too. But these are oppressors. But you want to be around them all the time. You want to be just like them. I think some of you do. But you guise it as hatred when it's really just envy of what they have. And at the end of the day, I think that's what some, if not most, black people really desire, is what white people have that they don't have. You hear it in some of their talking points. Although educated, you hear it. They're envious. They don't like the fact that some white people have what they don't. And so they do any and everything to try to make white people feel guilty about it so that when they get it, they won't feel guilty. And white people will have little to nothing trying to match black people, trying to get down to their level to understand where they're coming from. And yet and still a white man and or woman or child will find out they are still white in the eyes of a black person. You will forever be white. You will forever be the C word to most. And they will not give a damn about you. But guess what? They will sure use the hell out of you. And they will sure take your kindness for granted. And many of you will sit there and still continue to keep doing what you're doing. And you know why? Because you're not fighting back. You're not saying fuck black people for being assholes. Fuck y'all for not appreciating the fact that we're trying. Not even that we're going to fully get it, but that we're trying and you're not even giving us a shot. It's just because we're white and because we look a certain way that you guys have a strong internalized hatred that we can't combat. And I think that's what Scott realized. This is something that cannot be fixed. It's so internal, so ingrained in the mind of a black person. They're not going to get above it. So why go down with them? I understand how he feels. Some black people try to get away from black people. But yet some of these same people that live in these white neighborhoods, they talk the blackest shit, but they're not around black people. That should tell you something. They're hypocrites in their own right, but they try to pretend like they love black people so much. But they really don't. But they are willing to get money off of talking about the oppression of black folks who ain't living nowhere near them. Black people don't even want to be around black people. So why is it so hard when a white man finally says it, that he's tired of your shit, and he doesn't want to be around you? I don't blame him. Because if I was in his shoes, I would feel the exact same way. Then again, I feel like that right now with some black people. And I love the ones that treat people right. The ones that do wrong, I will never understand. I'll love them anyway, but I'm certainly not going to tolerate the nonsense. And I will call the truth for what it is, whether if you're white or black indifference. Right is right and wrong is wrong. And if you're doing wrong to others, this is a natural reaction. It has nothing to do with color. It just has something to do with people's humanity. And quite frankly, people are tired of that. And they're tired of your shit. So either change your thought process or prepare to get left. Because people are going to go into exile, especially dealing with you. But in any case, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Malik Washington. I hope you enjoyed this video. Have a good day or good night wherever you reside. I thank you for listening if you got this far. Stay tuned until the next episode. And with this, I say peace.